play the music. David already knows this because we interviewed him 4 years ago. We pay him by standing up and giving him the warmest rock star applause at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Stand up, please. Wow. First of all, thank you for joining, David. I'm gonna introduce you, but I don't remember the answer you gave 4 years ago. So have you been welcome on stage as a rock star? You should say yes.
The truth is yes. I remember it's a great experience. Can you hear me properly? Yes.
Yeah, and we. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I want to thank you because this is one of the communities I love the most. I've been here in Barcelona. This is my second time. I've been in Madrid, and I've been in Chisinau in Moldova.
We're in Moldova. That's right.
Thanks to Alex, I've been traveling around the world. So it's a great experience to be here.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, that was fun. We can talk about this later. Let me introduce David. David is the founder and one of the persons, the founder of Cyberclick that was created in September 1999, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 20 freaking years in like 6 months. That's incredible. We turned 5. We think this is easy. He's gone through multiple crises. He's created multiple companies and then, redistributed shares with his employees and partners and all of that, and has survived a lot of changes in the ecosystem. So you were before the ecosystem of startups even existed.
Yes.
What's your learnings? And thank you for contributing.
So I will repeat more or less the same I said 4 years ago.
We don't remember. How many of you were here 4 years ago when I interviewed this gentleman? You see, no one. Yeah, well, okay, obviously
yeah, Victor was here. Yeah. So what I would say my most important learning as an entrepreneur is people. That's the key point. If you make that decision right, everything is going to flow. And I didn't know when I started, right? So I thought that everybody was able to do exactly the same things I was able to do. But the reality, each one of us has some abilities, and it's important to understand where are you good at, and if someone fits in the kind of company you want to create. So that's the most important thing. Whenever you're starting a company, what I would focus nowadays is what's the type of company I want to create, and what's the sort of people I want to work with, so we are on the same page and on the same direction.
Because actually, David was one of our first speakers 4 years ago. Back then, we did the events in Spanish. Back then, some of you were not even born, especially the students over there. Yeah. And we also lost the video thanks to our previous video provider. Luckily, we've had Matbo for some years now. They're good. They deliver the videos. But anyways, so that's useless information. But we've heard a lot of things during the 4 years that have passed since. And one of the things is like you have also evolved as you were like the CEO of a group of companies called Cyberclick. But now you've written 2 books, right? Can we talk about that? Can we talk first of all about this book?
My preferred topic. So.
I read it today. It's a really good book. Can you talk about, first of all, the first one and then the Audio Millennial?
Yeah, so the first book is The Happiest Company in the World. I have to say it's in English already, so if anyone wants to read it in English, you have it on Amazon. And that's a book that I wrote, well, out of my struggle, because when I built Cyberclick, I wanted to create a different company and a happy place where people could feel that they were fulfilled and they were enjoying their work. But I have to say that I totally failed. So it was a complete disaster. And at the beginning, we were 3 co-founders. So I thought that only a third, it was my responsibility. But after a couple of years, my 2 other co-founders, they had other job opportunities and they left. So I was the only co-founder in the company, and I was 100% responsible of the kind of company we were running. And there was one Monday that I was not happy. I didn't want to go to work to the company I've co-founded. And that's very sad, right? Because you are the managing partner and the co-founder, and you don't want to work there. So you need to do like a kind of reflection. So that's what I did. And from that day, I started to change and learn the way I was running the company. It took me a really long time. And I would say for 5 to 7 years, I was learning from different companies like Virgin, Semco, Morningstar, a lot of companies that they were doing things different in terms of the way they work. And out of that, we start to become a nice place to work, and at the end we became the best place to work in Spain for the small size companies. Mm-hmm. And after that, then I decided to write the book, because for me, it became natural, everything that we were doing. So it was like the normal stuff. But when I was speaking to other entrepreneurs and doing conferences, I realized that for a lot of people it was very strange. So I decided to write a book so I could give more reach to the ideas.
That was your first book, The Happiest Company in the World. What have you learned in these 3 years that separate that book from The Oddie of the Millennial?
So,
and why focusing on millennials?
Well, I'm a marketer, okay?
Yeah. So, full disclosure.
And I realized that there's a hot topic. So millennials are not happy at work at all. The majority of my team are millennials, so I work with millennials, and then I did an A/B testing. So after writing The Happiest Company in the World, I had 2 ideas. One was talk about women at work, which I am really supportive, because it's very hard to be a woman and succeed professionally, because you have a lot of barriers to break. But I thought that this book, I cannot write it alone, so I need to find a woman entrepreneur who wants to write it with me. And the other one was about millennials, because all my team were millennials, and it was I met a lot of millennials that they were struggling. So I did this A/B testing. I published this article that was January 2017, and it became viral. So I normally get 1,000 visitors on my blog when I post content, and that one had 12,000 within 1 week. So I realized that there was a hot topic, and I started the book. The thing is, I was very busy, and it took me almost 2 years to finish it.
That's really good. I didn't know this part of the story. So do you actually analyze the content of your blog post, and then you follow up on these topics if they have got more virality or more visits?
Not really. Not really. I try to analyze people, so the things that worries people and what they tell me, and then I'll write content related to that and the topics I want to talk, which are normally it's entrepreneurship, happiness at work, and marketing.
Let's talk about the book. And basically this book it looks like the diary. I read it today, that's why I've got it here. It's really easy to read in a day. You should do it. Is it going to come up in English, first of all?
Yeah, but it's going to take 2 or 3 months.
So basically, this is a millennial who is hired by a newspaper/magazine that's really, really old school minded. And they hired this guy, it's called Matteo the millennial, to transform and lead the digital transformation of a really, let's say, obsolete company, right? But what happens is there's this culture clash between the millennial and the boss, who's like a grumpy boss, always shouting, forcing people, like working until late and all of that, like the old school mindset, and him, and then the people who've been working there for 25 years and are super patronizing, and then you've got people who are like, yeah, I understand you, so they kind of like empathize a little bit more with Matteo, right? And I'm not gonna spoil this, also I'm not gonna do any spoiler, but like the book is really interesting. Why did you write it if you're not a millennial? Because you said you were not going to write a book about women because you're not a woman.
What makes you think I'm not a millennial? No,
I'm barely one, right?
No. So I was born in '74, so yeah, I'm not a millennial. But I have two things that makes me closer to a millennial. So all my team are millennials.
Yeah.
So the year that is more common is people born in the 1990. So I have a lot of millennials. I've worked with plenty of them. And then I'm a lot into technology, so I have a lot of things that have to do with millennials. So sometimes I ask millennials, any millennials here? Can you raise your hand?
Well,
So who had a computer when they were younger than 10 years old? So younger than 15? Someone who's a millennial and after 15 they got the first computer? Someone. So my dad was crazy about technology. So he had everything that was about technology. So I had my first computer when I was 13 years old. I had the first digital device when I was 6, which was the Atari. I played in a black and white TV. Can you imagine that? I played an Atari with black and white. It was the first one you could get in Spain. So I've been a lot related to technology. So as much as a millennial, because I started really young. Yeah. And then I like the kind of life of a millennial. So I've been traveling since when I was 17, I had already been in the States and in Japan, so which was not normal at my age. So I'm a Gen X going to the side of millennials, and I love.
Come on, you're young.
Sorry?
You're young.
No, but Gen X is my
the mindset, right?
Exactly.
Well, the book is divided more or less. We can summarize it between Mateo the millennial and then Vidal, who's the arch enemy of millennials, right? Guy who's kind of like old, grumpy, is always shouting, as I said, and hates technology, hates change. It's always, if it works, don't touch it, right? So Mateo kind of like uses Evernote to take notes, tweets, writes on Medium, and then shares on Instagram, WhatsApps the other coworkers, and you can see the way he thinks in all of these channels. How much of David is in Mateo? How many things of Mateo do you think like they're like that?
Well, I'll do all those things.
You do all of this, I know.
I have my Evernote. That's the application I use. I actually try to contact them if they want to be partners.
Sponsor, right?
Yeah, but they never answer. So
they never answer.
Well, but yeah, I do all those things. I mean, I use social networks, Evernote, and I see life more from Mateo's point of view than Vidal.
Mateo is kind of like, first day at work, nobody greets me. I do something, nobody gives me, recognition for that. I post a picture and I get on Facebook or whatever, I get 2 notifications, and then he gets stressed and he wants to quit his job. Like, isn't it a little bit like an exaggeration, or you want it to play it out like this?
Well,
millennials are a bit like this, right?
I don't know. Not all of them. This is a good topic.
Yeah.
My thesis is that we all are millennials in the negative parts that society attributes to millennials.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of people that get mad really fast that they can't wait. Mm-hmm. So you take someone 50 years old and you let them drive and you see that they become crazy. And I know people that are 50 years that are checking their cell phone and see if they have likes. So a lot of the things that we're saying that are bad from millennials, I think we all have those traits. But it's been stigmatized to millennials because they're the ones more active on social networks and digitally.
But also, on the other hand, there's Vidal, right? As I said, like the grumpy old boss, that he's super patronizing and takes Mateo to the side. So like, look, guy, like, it doesn't work like this. I appreciate your motivation, your ambition, your ideas and all of that. But blah, 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 blah. And then he goes on this super patronizing speech, which to some extent it's true, right? How much of David is in that Vidal?
I think 0%.
Oh my God.
Come on, no. No, Vidal is a character that has to do with my previous book. Because the message is that you need to be happy at work. And Vidal represents a lot of people that I've met during those years. When people turn 40 to 50, around that time, you realize that you hate your job, Yeah. And that sucks. I mean, you've spent 20 years, 25 years working on something, and you've lost all the aspirations that you had. Mm-hmm. You say, okay, that's the life I have. I'm gonna resignate and spend the rest of my life doing this shit. And I think that's really sad. So what I wanted to represent is, okay, you can, even though you have 50, or you're 50 years old, it doesn't mean that you have to accept reality and stop doing what you want. So that's the idea of Vidal is someone that, well, he's divorced, he's got a bad relationship with his daughters, he hates his boss and his work. I mean, he's not living his life. So the point in the book is to have a relationship and see how you can change. And even no matter the age you have, you need to be passionate about what you do and enjoy your job. And if you don't make enough money, then downsize your life, but try to do something that provides you joy.
I thought that's super Marie Kondo, by the way. But
yeah.
I thought that you were sending subliminal messages to your employees. Like, I don't want to say this to your face because I'm a millennial a little bit, so I'm going to write it in a book. Which is actually brings me to my next question. Did you write the book so that your clients, because you do a lot of coaching and you consult for really, really big companies, do you think it's easier to sell them your message of treat millennials the right way through a book than actually telling them in a speech or in a coaching session?
I don't know what's easier. I'm going to try with the book. The truth is that the majority of people I talk to that are managers, they complain about millennials. And I don't get it because I work with millennials and I'm super happy.
Yeah.
And last week I had a meeting and I was talking about the book, and I need to do promotion, as you know.
Yeah,
and,
shameless plug, buy this book.
and he was telling me, I have a problem with millennials. And I was thinking, gosh, the millennials have a problem with you. Because you have this mindset that they have to adapt the way you think, the way you've been doing everything on your professional life, and maybe it's you that you have to adapt. So that's the message I want to share. Companies need to adapt, because it's not going to be only millennials who ask for a different way of working, but it's going to be the whole society. And if you don't adapt as a manager or as a company, you're going to die. I give just one hint of the book. One of the ideas is that we don't want managers. You don't want a boss. So what you want is someone who coaches you, who sets challenges, who is beside you and try to help you. And that's something that most managers they don't agree, because they are in a super good position. And it has to do, again, with women. No? Men, the majority of men are in a good position, and they don't want to change. I mean, I'm the manager. People are doing what I say. Why do I have to change? Well, because your company is going to die. No one is going to want to work there.
It's one message that probably you should address this right now. So there's a lot of millennials here. Has anybody not yet had his or her first job? Raise your hands. So everybody has already started working, right? Well, no, 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5. All right, so the book starts saying that this is the first day of my life, like the Song of Bright Eyes. What would you do on your first day at your new job if you started working today? Maybe some advice to these folks.
For them?
Yes. Start working today, not 20 years ago or like me.
Yeah, do as much as you can. I mean, you have a lot of time to dedicate. Normally, if you're starting, so you don't have anything to, like kids or anything you need to do. So try to spend as much time as you can doing that job. If you are not happy, then quit. I mean, but try it for at least, I would say, 3 to 6 months. If you don't enjoy what you do, go and try another thing. So you are at an age that is very hard to know exactly what's your passion, and then try as many things as you can until you find something you really have this tick, like, okay, this is my thing, and then put all your heart there. Like, try to do and enjoy as much as you can.
How can they detect if a company is millennial friendly?
Probably in the interviews you will see how they interact with you. It's not only the space, because some companies they have a very good space, but then the way they work is not millennial. For instance, for me, and I guess as you do, I don't have my space. I mean, I'm sitting with the rest of the team. I have the same privilege that anyone else. And for one thing we do that I think is important is that when someone comes to the company and the first day they are starting, we celebrate. So we organize a breakfast. When we have a breakfast with that person, we bring a welcome pack with my book, obviously. And, and some other books, but we have like some presents like sunglasses and different a cup of tea, so different things. And we welcome the person. Oh, it's like, okay, you're important. I mean, you're someone that is joining the company, and even if it's an internship, we do exactly the same.
Is it kind of like, well, you did your first task and you did it well, right? You joined the company and you showed up in the right office. It's kind of like, you also celebrate it like that?
Yeah.
Achievement unlocked and you
exactly. But it's important. I mean, that's the first thing that Matteo experienced, and this is something based on true facts. I remember I interviewed a guy, and he was complaining about a company that hired him, and the first day he was working alone. No one was waiting for him, so he goes to the company. I'm not going to say the name. It's a big corporation. He goes there, and no one is expecting him. So he sits on a chair, just waiting the whole day. No one comes to say hello, and then he leaves, and he's like, where I'm working? I mean, no one has said anything. And then the day after, the boss came, spent 5 minutes with him, and left again. So he was really frustrated. And after that, I thought, well, that's something really important. The way you are received. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of time in a company if you enjoy it. So the first impression is really important.
Actually, one of the things you don't talk about this in your book, and I think no one is covering this topic, right? So millennials are now becoming also bosses of people, right? So we get a lot of literature about working with millennials, coaching millennials, hiring millennials, firing millennials, even if that could lead, to some problems. But there's not such a guide for millennial bosses. Like, I don't even have examples, right, of how should I interact or how should I lead a team as a millennial boss, right? What's your impression about this? What's your advice for people like me?
So I would say, first of all, there are not many examples, as you said. So for you, it's easy to relate with other people. I think we need to get rid of this idea of a boss, right? I heard some people that they were working for millennials, for a millennial, and they were complaining about the millennial. But I have to say it has nothing to do with the generation. It's more the person, and we need to change the way we think. No? A boss is not a traditional boss. What you expect if you put yourself in the shoes of the people working for you is they expect to have someone supporting, guiding, and inspiring, and that's something not associated to a boss. No? A boss normally is associated with controlling and just micromanaging everything you do. So I don't know. I hope I don't have to write this book because the role of a boss will change.
The millennial boss.
Exactly.
Right. I'll give you the title. How about so these companies are large corporations that used to be like super corporate, old mindset, and old school and everything. Now, suddenly they have waken up and they integrate all what you say and all this literature about like coaching, like the playground spaces, like, all these rewards and all of that. And all of these change, they almost do it overnight. So they kind of like swing from this end of the pendulum to the other end at like extreme speed. And how do you see this transformation happening? What effects can it have, like from coming from this toxic culture to going to the other side of the spectrum?
It's impossible to do it in a short period of time. So you need time, and the most important is that the management, they change the point of view. I mean, if it's only a makeup, like, okay, I'm gonna change the office and we're gonna make a super cool office and you will have beers, but then you control how many beers they are drinking, or then it doesn't work. So that's
not for me.
Exactly. That's the most important part. Like, the management needs to change. So if they try to change quickly, but it's only a makeup to try to attract people, it's not gonna work, because you spot that the first day you go to work to the company. So I think it's a process. It's not easy. It takes time. Companies are afraid because you need to let go control, because now they are used to command and control, and now you need to let go, and it's a different way of working, and it's normal to be afraid. So let's go step by step and see how it's progressing.
Actually, so I come from the dark side, and I'm an ex-Deloitte, right? So I've been there, I know what I'm talking about, and fixed schedules, work until late, suit and tie, super strict command and control traditions and attitudes, like super strict bosses, not millennial friendly, I'm afraid, right? And like last week, I was at Accenture here in Barcelona, and 2 weeks ago, I was in Accenture in San Francisco, and I've been to Deloitte's office. Deloitte was actually in 4 years from now. Like, you wouldn't believe it. It was like, mind blown, right? And I've seen their offices now. Everybody dresses casual, flexible schedules, work from home, disruptive technologies, super friendly bosses. I was like, why the fuck do I need to create a startup now when I can work at all these companies, have a stable job, stable income, work on cool projects, and not have to starve? Like, is it the time to actually go back and work for these companies again? Now, the serious question would be, like, did they do it because it's an HR strategy? Because they know they couldn't hire otherwise.
I'm sure. I mean, they realize that if they don't change, they're gonna suffer a lot, and a lot of companies have this feeling like it's very hard for me to get talent. People prefer to go to startups. So we change, or we are not able to lead, because now they realize that people is what makes the difference. And regarding to the other question, I mean, if you were starting a company just because it was cool and you didn't find a place to work, then yes, you should go back to a company that. But if you're starting a company because it's what you want to do, because it's like you're calling, like I want to do this because for whatever reason, but you're willing to sacrifice, and you all know that. You know who's really an entrepreneur and who's not. Then I suggest you at least you try it.
Because the reason I'm bringing this up is I've seen that the mentalities have switched sides. So kind of like the corporates have incorporated all of this new mentality and super cool, we're all friends and all of that. And startups, on the other hand, when they are running short on cash, especially, or they are in super high growth mode, think of companies like, I don't know, like Revolut, for instance, have had a really, really troublesome last 2 weeks, because a message from the CEO has leaked saying, we've got KPIs, we've got goals, and if you don't hit them, they were gonna fire you, you should work on the weekends, right? I was like, I would expect that from freaking Accenture or Deloitte, not from Revolut, right? So when all of these startup thing goes out of fashion, people will go back to the big ones, and startups will have trouble hiring?
Well, I don't think it's gonna get old-fashioned. I mean,
Really?
I think the model is gonna keep working. I mean, I think people prefer to work in smaller teams that they have challenges and have control of what's happening. I think in this case, Revolut had a problem, and we all have problems. I commit a lot of mistakes during my professional life. That was a huge mistake. I don't know what they've done, but if I was in their position, I would have published a video saying, hey, we screw up. We're going to try to work on our culture because that's not right. But everyone can have a problem. I mean, it's easy if you are under stress that you go to your natural way of working. And probably the CEO of Revolut has worked for Accenture 10 years ago, and he's used to that. I think that's going to change. People are going to see natural to work counting on people, and even if you're in stress, they're going to react in a different way.
What's the worst experience you've had working with millennials? One that you think, like, that was too millennial for me.
I have to say, I haven't got many bad experiences working with millennials, because we do a very complete hiring process. So I found millennials that haven't fit. I would say something that has happened to us is the way we work looks from the outside very relaxed.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. I mean, people are really responsible. It's relaxed because they manage their pace. Like, I want to work this schedule, but people work really hard. Not like some other companies, they concentrate on time, but they work really hard, super professional. And we've got a couple of people that came to Cyberclick, and then they had a misunderstanding between being having a nice time at work and not working. That's something that we've seen a couple of times. Like, okay, even though you see people that they're having a good time and they stop for breakfast and they work from home, it doesn't mean that they are not working. They work super hard, concentrate, they provide great results, and that's something we have experienced for a couple of people, that they were lacking this self-awareness. But again, I don't think it has to do only with millennials. We have experienced that with other generations, right? It's more self-awareness and understanding how the dynamics of a professional team works.
You become sort of, I don't like the word, but sort of a guru, an expert on
Yeah, I like
hiring.
the word. You can use it.
Yeah, you like it. It's all right. It's all right. I hate other words as well, but I've got a problem with words. So on HR, company culture, hiring, does that help you in the hiring process? Because it's the word of mouth, by being elected as an expert like that, having been awarded things like Best Place to Work in 2012, things like that. Does it help you with your hiring strategy?
Yeah, it helps us, obviously. Once they see the process, the way we work, for us it's easy to compete to any other company. If they have two options, normally they come to Cyberclick. That's help us. I don't do it for this, so
yeah, no, of course.
It has to do with my mission. So my mission in life, if you ask me what you want to do, and if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to know what you want to do in life. My mission is very simple. I want to create the happiest and more fulfilling company in the world. That's why I do it.
That's really good.
And I want to change the way people work and create inspiring Mondays. And I don't find another better way to do that create my own company, try to do it as best as possible, and then share the knowledge of what I'm learning and try to share it. So when I do that, I go to sleep very happy. And you have a lot of energy once you do what you love. No, lately with the book, I have a lot of things going on. In the last couple of weeks, some days I've just slept really short, small number of hours. Last week I came from Madrid. It was 12 at night. I went to sleep around 1. At 5 in the morning, I wake up, but it was because I couldn't wait being sleeping. I had so many things to do that I was passionate that my energy was like, I need to do that. Wow. And when you experience that, I mean, your life becomes amazing. And since I'm experiencing that, I'm super happy.
If you were to create a new company today, what would be your ideal team? Let's create that A team for our company.
I would hire the same people I have on my team.
Wow, that's good.
And
they're gonna like
but
you.
That's an important question.
Yeah.
If you're creating a team, and I learned that from Netflix. You need to go and learn and see the document from Netflix about company culture. They check every single year if they would rehire their team.
Wow.
And if someone you wouldn't rehire, then you have to let go that person. And that's something I ask regularly. Would I rehire that person? Because if not, then I need to take an action. So definitely, I would hire exactly the same team I do have.
And then, how do you check? Like, because I get it that you probably get a lot of recommendations, right? Because you probably do also some active reaching out to people, but I take it that the people you end up hiring are people who have been recommended to you, right? What's your strategy here?
No, the best people we've hired is people that
you do know?
That were recommended. So if someone in Cyberclick recommends someone, then the experience is very good. But we've been very lucky to find people directly through job offers, or we work with several hiring companies that they understand our culture, and they send us people like, oh, I've interviewed that person, it's Cyberclick profile, I'm going to send it to you.
That's actually a really good thing, because how do you actually work with recruiters? How do you outsource hiring, right? Because we've had people here say like, never outsource hiring. Like, people like Travel Perk or Iñaki Cenarro. I remember they saying like, you're delegating a part of your company that it's critical, it's crucial. Why are you externalizing that?
We externalize the scouting.
The scouting, yes.
So we want to have them in the door, ready to come for an interview. But the rest of the process, we do everything. Even because some of the recruiters say, well, I'll organize the interview for you. I'll call them to set the meeting. I say, no, I'll do it directly. We do everything but the scouting. So we want recruiting companies to scout people that they think they're going to fit in Cyberclick culture and send them to us.
And how do you actually transmit your company values, your company culture to them?
Yeah, so we don't try to transmit them at the beginning. So at the beginning, the way we do the interviews is that we don't share a lot of information about Cyberclick. We want to see if you have the core values. And then if we see they have the core values, then we start to ask them, what are your beliefs, how you were educated, and see if they are related. And then we explain them our core values. We want to see how they relate to them. And yeah, that's the way we do it. And I mean, I assume most of you are entrepreneurs or you want to be. Have you done interviews? Can you raise your hands, the ones doing interviews? Have you been successful 100% of the times? Well, because I was very bad at that. So I tried to learn. I'm an engineer and a marketer, so I had no idea about hiring, and I had to learn. And I was using the worst system for hiring. My system, so never do that, was the salesman. So when someone came, I was selling the company. Someone came to Cyberclick and I was selling the company. You know, Cyberclick it's all about marketing, and we're looking for people who are passionate and they like to work in a team. Tell me about you. I'm all about marketing, I'm passionate, and I like to work in a team. So obviously, I was like, wow, that's the right person, and I hired
it's a good
them.
match.
Yeah,
like in Tinder.
But that never worked, so they never used that. And that was my first system. And then I went to a work system, which is depending on your bright eyes. You know what? Someone has bright eyes, they are passionate. They are someone that can provide value to your company. That's what I thought. But then a friend of mine came and told me, you know that some people take some substances and smoke some things that make you bright eyes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, so never hire that person, right? Never use this system.
Last 2 or 3 questions, really quick ones. I've been through the process myself about writing a book. I think it's not a big deal not to, but what was your learnings? No, what was your learnings about writing a book? Because we all think like, wow, it's a big deal. It's going to be perfect. And I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. I want to write, the Bible or something like that. What was your learnings with the first book?
No, well, as you said, you have to start, and never is perfect. So there's one day that you need to cut it, because I would be re-editing everything, and but it's a matter of starting. So just try to chop it into small pieces, start writing, and if it works perfect, in my case, obviously, I'm not a writer, so I'm very good creating the story. So my publishing house then edit everything, but it's important that you start. It's not that hard.
And what things did you learn from the first book that you have applied in this book?
No, it's all about, again, I'm a marketer, so everything is thought in the book. When I start to do the book, I'm thinking how I'm going to promote it. So the first thing is, what are the messages I want to share? So I knew all the 4 key points that the book has. And then everything was thought about a marketing point of view, so it can grow.
No, I mean, congratulations, because I'm a really avid reader, and I read a lot of books, and one thing is I found some similarities between the first and the second, and it's a business book that doesn't feel like a business book, because business books, except 2 or 3, are really boring, right? Whereas yours, you get the message across, and it feels like reading a novel because it's a novel, right? Yeah,
it's a kind of a short novel, and the idea is because I've read many books like this, like the one from Pat Lencioni, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and there are many. I can't remember the title now in English, but I've read many books this way. I love the format because you read it just in a plane or in a train, and you have like 2 or 3 ideas that stick to your mind and change your point of view. So that's the idea of the book. When you finish this book, if you're a millennial, then you would know what the other generations are thinking, and you will have 2 or 3 ideas to improve. And if you are a manager in a company, you will understand that the way you're managing people is not working, and you will understand how the millennial thinks and what they are expecting from you.
Which books would you recommend? Like if you were to recommend 1 or 2 books to our audience? Because we never talk about books here. I feel like we should read more.
Well, I read a lot of books. The first thing I would recommend is that you should read a lot of books. On average, a CEO in the States reads 22 books a year.
Yeah, but they count audiobooks as books. That's not reading.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they count them or not, but
they do.
That's, I mean, if
22.
you put it, 22 is 1 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's not that much, it's a couple of months, but that puts you in an advantage of your competition. I mean, if you are reading constantly, whatever it is, if it's audiobook or it's watching YouTube, but learn. That's something really important. About books, this is my topic because I read from 50 to 100 a year.
Wow.
And I'm 44 years old, so I read a lot of books. And tell me the topic, and then I'll recommend 1 or 2.
Okay, what was the best book from last year?
From last year, let me
got
go
50
to my
to choose
Kindle. Yeah.
No, well, I remember like you once recommended me Top Trading, but then you said, no, actually read this other one. What was the other one? About hiring people.
Hiring, it's Who from Geoff Smart. That's a book you should read if you're hiring people. It's a very short book and teach you a method to hire. From last year, I would say I love the one from Richard Branson.
All right.
Finding My Virginity. So I read in 23, 24, the Losing My Virginity, and I read this one. That's a great book. I read last year.
Great. Last 2 questions is, what was your biggest fuck up? We always ask about the biggest fuck up in business.
No, there are many, but I think I answered that 3 years ago, and it has to do with people. So the biggest mistakes I made, it has to do with people. It will be not hiring people who fit in the culture I wanted to create, and the other one is managing in the old-fashioned way. It took me a long time to understand the new way of interacting with people. So I had issues communicating and trying to explain the things that the expectations and giving feedback. So there I made many mistakes. Sometimes I would say 10 years ago or more, I fired people that nowadays I would do it in a different way. Try to make it more friendly, which is hard, but changing the way we did it.
Perfect. Last question. I don't know if we asked this. I'm pretty sure we didn't 4 years ago when we interviewed you. It's everybody has got a useless superpower, all right? Something you do exceptionally well, but it's fucking useless.
I can't remember what I said, I have to say.
I'm not sure, because back then we were starting with this question.
Yeah.
And we don't have the video, so you'll have to come up with something.
A superpower that is useless. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like an example would be like I always put the shirts like the other side, or like I put on like mismatching socks every morning.
No,
but you do it every day.
No, one thing I do, I'm really superstitious. I'm really superstitious, but I do it in a positive way. I think it's
placebo.
Yeah, like okay. There are many things that I'll do. I mean, if I say anything, I will touch boot. If I don't go under a stairs, I'm really superstitious, but I'll use it in a positive way. Since I'm not doing this, everything is going to be right, and then I suggest my mind to be positive.
Well, it's actually pretty useful, but being superstitious is fucking useless.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
Big applause.
It's useless. Thank you.
I mean, I would have gone for 3 hours more, but there's beer and catering. But before that, we're going to open the floor for questions. Say your name, very concise questions. Be respectful of other people's time, so 1 question per person. Who wants to start? Yes.
Alex, and you mentioned that there was wrong sales when you're hiring people. It was selling, it was not good. Then you said that you try to understand is the fire in the eyes. But what was the winning strategy to hire people?
The winning?
Yeah, at the end.
So it's try to find a pattern where that person has been an A player, someone that really succeed, and it has to be related with the task that they're going to develop in your company. So what I do now is I go step by step by all their professional career and see if they have been successful. And I ask them what was the biggest achievement in that company, why they left the company, who was their manager, and how do they think the manager is going to rate them from 1 to 10. And if you do that for all the jobs they've done, even if it's been just internships, you get an idea if that person is an A player for that position. And that's the winning strategy. And I do it always by phone first. So I call the person, and only if I have a clear idea that they could be like the right person, then they come to the office. So I call a lot of people that they never come to the office because I have doubts. But that's explained in the book Who, the one I recommended. That's what the book explains. I've done a lot of phone interviews. I don't know exactly, but more than 3,000.
Wow.
So.
We got a couple over there.
Next.
Back there.
Hi, my name is Tulio. My question is related to the same of the A team. But instead of how to identify and hire an A player, how would you identify and hire an A player in the making? So someone an A player in the making who might not still have experience, so to find evidence that that person is an A player, or that person might have been a B player in some other place, but for reasons, that are not of his fault. Because the problem with hiring A players is that they are expensive. They not always want to go to maybe work to a small company. So the auction is really how to find the ones that are A players, but they're still not.
Yeah, my answer is I think everybody's an A player, okay, but not for every company, not for every position. So a lot of people, they are not A players because they are not doing what they love. And I put you an example. We had someone working with us that was working in finance, and it was a disaster, okay? He paid twice the invoices, never invoiced. It was a complete disaster. And was someone who was great in personal relationships. So when he get to the office, everybody knows him. He goes to the bar next to the office, everybody knows him and love him. And why he was working in finance? Because his family told him, hey, you kid, if you study finance, you're going to have an accounting, you're going to have a job the rest of your life. But that person was not geared for finance. It was geared for sales, for public relationships, even for marketing, and he was doing something that he didn't enjoy. That's why he was not an A player. So the thing is that you need to look for that, okay, even though if they don't have experience, they are already an A player. You will ask their professors. I've called some professors and they tell you, oh yes, I hired them for an internship in my company because they were great. You will see some patterns, even if it's a summer camp and they've been nominated like the best one in the summer camp, whatever it is, you will see patterns, but they have to be related with the work they want to do. So your job is, okay, I need that kind of person, and let's see where I find indicators that person is an A player in that space. The other thing you mentioned worries me a little bit about the money. Obviously, an A player is going to be expensive. Yes, you're right. But your goal is not to pay them less. Your goal is to figure out what can you offer them that is going to be interesting. So if you are a founder, maybe you can do a profit sharing. Maybe you can give them phantom shares. Maybe you can provide them with a schedule that fits them. I remember we hired for one of my companies a PhD in math, and he came to work with us with a lower salary than he had before, and it was because we were able to let him go at 3 o'clock because he wanted to go to pick up his kids. So even we didn't have the resources to pay as much as the company he was working for. He came to work with us because we had that flexibility. So never compromise. Never hire a B player because you cannot pay them. Just look for a solution that look what you can offer to an A player and hire an A player, especially if you are starting, because that makes the whole difference. If you find the right person, your company is going to grow. We haven't talked about this, and because I'm a business angel, I have invested in more than 30 companies, and I've helped them a lot in terms of hiring people, and the ones that they have applied like going for A players are the ones that have grown the more.
We've got so many things in common. There's another thing in common that a lot of people might not know. Since we've got 2 Moldovans in the audience, maybe we want to share that experience, right? So I sent David to speak in Chisinau, in the lovely capital of Moldova.
Yeah.
And I was a speaker then 1 year after, right? And so maybe you want to share...
Well, first he sent me and say, well, David,
Yeah,
tell me
like,
if it's nice, if they treat you well, and then I will go. No, that's just kidding.
I was supposed to go first to test the waters and all of that. No, but the reason I'm bringing up this is, first of all, can you tell a little bit about that? The second is, you coach a lot, you invest, you help a lot of companies. Because of globalization, do you think you were able to also create an impact there in a completely different ecosystem?
I don't know if I create an impact, they will tell us, but...
They totally remember you being there, and they loved you. They were like,
awesome.
When is David coming back?
Oh, whenever they invite me again, so it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think globalization is making the same problems equal. No? I mean, there are some changes. I mentored a few months ago entrepreneurs from Africa, and the reality is really different, but the challenges were almost the same.
Exactly, right?
So, yeah, if for entrepreneurship, I think the challenges are similar in any country.
And that's it. If nobody has got another question, we can wrap it up here. Thank you very much for coming. There's food and catering and beers over there. Big applause.
Thank you.
All right.
Gracias. Gracias.